I love our readings for today. They truly speak to my heart. For as I was away last week on my silent priestly retreat, the more I spent in prayer, the more I realized I was in need of God's mercy. You know, it was 2 steps forward of holiness and then 3 steps back of God's mercy. I just realized how much further I have to go in holiness and faithfulness to God. And I wonder today, who do we need to forgive the most in our lives? And maybe it's our very self, by understanding God's great mercy. Azariah today understands his own sinfulness. Yes, he does. Very much he does. But he also understands the failings of his nation. As he says so well, he says, the whole world knows our sinfulness. But we humbly come to a God who can forgive us. Azariah he makes no excuses. He makes no excuses whatsoever of his shortcomings, of his failings, or of his country's failings. He simply begs God to forgive. Our gospel is an interesting one today. It's one that we are all familiar with, but I love how it's situated. And Peter comes to Jesus. Something must have happened, right? We don't know what, but Peter's wrestling with forgiveness, as we all do. And he says, should I forgive 7 times? And, 7's a perfect number. So Peter's like thinking he's the best right here by just asking that. And, of course, Jesus always has a way of humbling Peter by saying, no, 77 times. Peter, you need to learn to forgive. It's interesting, that first part, Peter asks the question, and Jesus answers it. But the parable that he gives is for everyone there. And it's for us. He goes on, that parable of one who's forgiven for so much, but then he turns around and doesn't forgive somebody that's had very little to be forgiven for. My friends, we need to see ourselves in this reading today. We need to see ourselves in this reading. Lent is a time of hanging on to God's great love. Lent is a time to growing in prayer and fasting, but it's also a time of prayer of knowing God's mercy. And who do we need to forgive today? And maybe it's ourselves. God forgives us as a gift. God's forgiveness for us is a pure gift, just as his love is a pure gift. But it's not a gift to be hung on to. It's a gift to be given away. So let's pray for that strength today to forgive and to know of God's great mercy as he leads us to holiness and faithfulness this day.